yourself in the mirror and accept that if you weren't a racist, you condone what a racist did. So that's, to me, the same thing. It's the same thing. So
I agree with you.
Big show. You got a big following. So God bless you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Hey, folks, the man with the pinky ring and the New York thing. Forget about it. Bad Brad Berkwitt. And you're watching another Bad Brad Berkwitt show on the Ringside Report web TV channel. Now make sure you hit that button and subscribe. And as well, thank you to all my new subscribers from all over the world. You don't know how much it means to me that you take the time to watch my shows, you share them, and you're helping me move humanity forward. We're picking up several, and thank you, thank you, thank you. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at BadBradRSR. Again, it's at BadBradRSR. And check out my great writing team on ringsidereport.com. Well, today, folks, I got a special guest. They're all special, honestly, to me for different reasons. This gentleman is a former Republican congressman who has changed parties since he was in power. He is also the host of the popular podcast White Flag with Joe Walsh. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to my show, obviously, the one, the only, Joe Walsh. Forget about it. All right. Well, first of all, good afternoon, Joe, and welcome to the show.
Hey, Brad, it's great to be with you. I mean that, my friend.
I appreciate you coming on. I always tell my guests before we start out, we're going to do a 360. We have a 360 conversation. So it's going to cover a lot of area, stuff you might have talked about before, stuff you might not have. But I want to give my viewers a complete 360 of you as a person. And I always preface every show I do with this. We know the internet is not always correct. So if I have something wrong in my notes, please say, hey, Brad, it's actually this. I have no problem if you correct me because it's the military in me and I want it to be as factually correct as we can be.
You got it, man.
Okay.
I mean it. Yep.
All right. So let's start out at the very beginning. It looks like you were born in the Chicago suburb of North Barrington. Is that correct?
Born and raised in the Chicago suburbs, northwest suburbs, Brad, a big old Irish Catholic family of 9. Yeah.
Okay. Talk about growing up there.
Again, it was great. I mean, a perfect upper middle class suburban existence in a big family, 7 boys. Loved my mom and dad to death. They both passed away within the last few years. It was a great way to grow up, though it's not easy growing up in a family that size.
Okay. Now, it looks like you earned your Bachelor of Arts in English from the University of Iowa. Is that correct?
Yeah, I went to a small school called Grinnell College in the middle of Iowa for a couple of years.
Okay.
Transferred out of there after 2.5 years and ended up getting my degree from Iowa, an English degree.
Okay. Talk a little bit about your college days.
That's a great question, Brad. It's something I haven't thought about for a long time. I was always restless in college. I never felt comfortable in college. I never really knew what I wanted to do. I was always looking beyond college. So as I look back now, it was kind of a restless experience.
Okay. Want to read something? I always like finding what I call little nuggets when I'm doing research on my guests. And I found one on you. I don't know how often you talk about it, but I got a kick out of it. We share this actually. So I want to read this for the viewers and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
So it looks like in the mid 80s, you embarked on into acting, taking lessons, stage and theater and television at the Lee Strasberg Theater and Film Institute in New York City and Los Angeles. Is that correct?
God, my memory. Yes, I think New York was where I might have gone first. I think I went to LA first, but then I ended up at the Strasberg Institute in New York, studied acting. I enjoyed being on the stage. Okay.
And it's interesting because in the 60s, my father actually, Lee Strasberg, who it's named after, who was Hyman Roth in The Godfather, which I'm sure you know that. My dad studied with him in the 60s. He died in the early 80s. But I was curious, talk about that time. Did you do any acting? Did you do any commercials, stage? What did you do?
I did And I loved at that time, Brad. I never, I think Lee Strasberg died before I was there.
He
His
did.
wife
He did.
was still, yeah, his wife was, I believe, still teaching at the Institute. And that's where all the great method actors in the time went. I loved it. I did a little bit of small theater stuff. I did maybe a couple insignificant commercials. I then eventually went out to LA. My problem, Brad, was I was just, again, too kind. I couldn't focus. So I ended up going out to LA, riding my bicycle and doing a bunch of other things. I didn't focus on acting as much as I should have.
Okay. Want to read something else? You were a Republican congressman from Illinois' 8th district from 2011 to 2013. Is that correct, Joe?
Yes.
Okay. During your tenure, from my research, you were definitely high profile with many good and many bad things said about you, which you know better than me. Since I wasn't in this area, I'm in Northwest Indiana, but don't tell anybody. I'm not by choice. I'm a New Yorker. Debbie got a job in Whiting at BP, so that's how we're here. But cool. I want to be fair to you in this part. So looking back when you were active congressman, what do you think was the biggest mistake you made and also the biggest misconception about you? So biggest mistake, biggest misconception about you.
Biggest mistake, Brad, was that too often I engaged in ugly personal politics, personal attacks. The biggest misconception about me is that I'm a jerk, is that I'm some crazy man. Look, Brad, I went to Congress. I wasn't a kid. I think I was in my mid to late 40s. I wanted to get stuff done. Most congressmen and women, they go there and they're caught up in the glitz and the lights and the lobbyists and all of that shit. I didn't want any of that stuff. I was an older guy. I wanted to get stuff done. I ran for Congress because I believed in things. So, man, I got a lot of attention and I screamed a lot. Generally, most of it all I believed in. And I'm glad that I did that. But there were plenty of times, Brad, where I went over my skis and said stuff or did stuff that I, when I look back, I regret.
Okay. And I want to go back a little bit because I actually had another note and I want to talk about it because I want to give you credit for it. Before the politics, it looks like outside, well, when you outside of college, after you graduated college, I should say, you worked as a social worker. And I believe that was in Illinois with the Jobs for Youth program. Yeah. In the inner city of Chicago, teaching high school dropouts basic academic and job skills. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, talk about that because I think that's noteworthy.
Yeah, and that's something, Brad, so funny. That's something a lot of people would never associate with a guy like me. Right. Look, I believe in a very limited government. I believe that it's the responsibility of us outside of government to take care of those who are not as fortunate as us. So I spent a good deal of my career before politics engaged in things like social work, primarily helping inner city white, black, and brown kids in Chicago find a job, get their GED. It was a mission to me, and I really, really enjoyed it.
Okay. Area I want to go into, and I want to read a note and give you my thought real quick, and then I'm going to give you the mic, and I'm going to let you answer this. This is the area that I want to address, and I talked to you a little bit before we started. Yeah. I want to get into, and I want to preface this for the viewers, because the viewers that follow me know that my show is about civility. We're not always going to agree on things, and I'm the type that I like to find out from people where they stand now, why they said something, why they did something, and give them a chance to explain, because media on both sides, liberal media and the craziness on the right, they don't give guests. You do segments and you get cut off and you don't get a chance to explain. So on my show, we got unlimited time. So what I want to ask you about is that, and we'll talk about this. Some of the disparaging, and you said that you regret, and I've seen you apologize, but I still want to address them.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the disparaging and there were racial comments that you made, because it's an area that I fight daily about. I'm in an interracial relationship and I have a biracial son. So I take it very seriously, and I'm an activist, and I fight for people's rights. And one of the things I want to talk to you about is something that you said. And if I have it wrong, what was said, you could correct me, Joe. It looks like on September 23rd, 2017, you described Stevie Wonder as another ungrateful Black multi-millionaire after Wonder had taken a knee at a concert in protest as what he termed police brutality. Do you agree with that so far? That part of it?
Yeah, that's definitely something.
Okay,
Brad,
all right.
that
Let me say this, and then I'm gonna give you the mic to say
You got
answer
it,
whatever you
man.
want. I'm a career Navy man. I did 20 years and 28 days. That's my shadow box behind me. I make it known that me personally, would take a knee with Colin Kaepernick. Now, people that are against that, they have the right. This is America, and you have the right. The only thing that I push back on that is this, and I'm not saying that you said this part, is that don't change the narrative. You can disagree with the narrative, but don't change it. And people, Trump supporters and Trump, like to change the narrative of things. You can disagree. I have no problem with that. We can have a conversation. So what I want to ask you is, after George Floyd was murdered by Derek Chauvin in front of the world, okay, which is police brutality, do you, and like I said, I've seen you apologize, do you talk to that statement? How do you feel now about what you said? Where do you stand on somebody taking a knee in America, which is their right, even if you disagree with it? I, as a military member, don't find it's disrespectful to me or my service, because we take an oath to the Constitution, not to the flag, even though you see I have a flag in that box. I'm not a flag burner. I don't believe in doing that shit. It's disrespectful. But I want to give you the opportunity to talk to that comment and where you are all these years later on it, Joe.
Brad, thanks. A couple things on the comment, and you may have to help me stay focused, because my mind is always a jumble.
Okay.
Because there are like 30,000 things I said.
Right.
But regarding that one, at the time, Brad, I was a conservative talk radio host. So a lot of what I said was serious points I was making, but I was being idiotically provocative, right? Like in a tweet like that. Because that's what you do in right-wing media. You try to piss off your audience. I did more of that than I'm proud of. The other point I'd make is I would defend, and I always defended, Colin Kaepernick's right to take a knee, Stevie Wonder's right to take a knee or burn the flag or do whatever. I've never, ever, in fact, I've had to push back on a lot of people on my right who have told me, you don't have a right to take a knee during the national anthem, or you don't have a right to burn the flag. I don't believe, and I've never believed any of that. At the time that I probably sent off that tweet, Brad, I guess again, I went too far in being provocative. I suppose the serious point I was trying to make was, I wish, and I still kind of believe this, I do, there are too many on the left, I wish that verbally articulated more how much they love this country. And I'd say the same thing about people on the right. And I sometimes I'm really sensitive to, you got a right to do it, but so many people bashing this country when this country has been so good to people. But you've got a right to bash the country if you want. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. And I wanted the viewers to see that, first of all, people can change. Second of all, I wanted people to hear about when you worked as a social worker with African-American kids and Hispanic kids and all, a melting pot. And I hear what you're saying at that point about, you said that you didn't freeze on me, did you?
And oh, by the way, and Brad, one more point.
Yeah.
To me, and again, that was a tweet where if I could take it back, I wouldn't have been as provocative if I could have, right? It was not a white or a black thing to me. Like I would have tweeted the same thing about a wealthy white musician. When I tweeted that, I meant nothing racially. I will note, and you can push back on me on this, I have always been obsessed with the issue of race. I love the issue of race. I try to get people talking about race. And oftentimes, Brad, over the years, when I've pushed the envelope on race, I've said some stupid stuff.
Right. Okay. And you said in August in 2019, you stated, while you did not consider yourself a racist, and what you just said, I have said racist things on Twitter, which you just alluded to. And I don't agree with those statements, but I do commend you for owning them. And see, that's the problem with this country with people in political positions or that just have a platform. You need to be accountable. I need to be accountable. Everybody should be held accountable for what we say, even if we're being provocative. But people don't like to do that. They don't like to be held accountable, and they deflect or they minimize or they give you a what-ism, which I fucking hate. We could curse on the show, by the way.
Good.
What about
Thank
it?
you.
Yeah, you could curse if you want. What about ism? I like that you didn't say, you have it on the left, the far left. You have it on the right. What I want to
Hey,
ask,
Brad,
yes.
here's the thing with me. When you go back and look at everything I've said, I will apologize for a lot of it. I'll explain a lot of it, and I'll defend some of it. It's just, you talk about how like I'm a caricature. People at my level are a caricature. It's much more nuanced than that. But yeah, look, I've often pushed the envelope on race. And when I've done it, I've gotten over my skis sometime. And when I fucked up, Brad, you point out a tweet. And if I look back and I say, then I fucked up. No doubt about it. And I'll admit that.
Okay. What I want to also talk about is the disparaging comments about President Obama. And I know you've apologized for some of it and said you went too far. But what I want to ask you is one talking point on President Obama, something that you said that I never agreed with you on it or anybody else that said it. But I want to ask, as of April 28th, 2022, do you still think in your mind that President Obama is a Muslim?
No. And Brad, that right there, of everything I've said and tweeted over the years, as a member of Congress, a Tea Party member, or as a member of the right-wing media, of everything you could put in front of me, that's probably the one I wish I could have back, because that's a perfect example of me being angry about certain Obama policies, and I lashed out in an ugly personal way, Brad, that I regret. And that's probably the biggest and number one example of that.
And Joe, I get a talking point. I don't even have it in my notes, but it comes off the top of my head. So when you were Republican, the Republicans, I don't have a problem with you not liking his policies. I know where you stood on Israel. I did a lot of research. You can have your opinion. This is America. We could disagree. That's fine. But certain things are too much. And I feel like when the guy, I don't remember what politician said it, Joe, wasn't you. I don't want the viewers to think it was you. But somebody said tar baby or something like that. Do you remember that one? I mean, come on. No,
hey, look, Brad,
and that wasn't you, by the way, that wasn't you. But I'm just saying, you remember that comment.
But you're right. Look, I come from the world of people on the right who hated Obama. And that hate was for a lot of different reasons, but I'll be the first to admit, Brad, some of that hate came from a racial bigoted place as well. I can't deny that. I mean, I was with those folks for years. I would hear some of it, no doubt about it.
Okay. Well, I'll read something to you and tell me if I'm on track with this. It looks like in July 2018, you pulled your support from Trump after the Helsinki summit with Putin. Is that correct?
That was the final straw. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So what I wanted, as I told you, I'm a military guy. So I worked for 4 commander-in-chiefs: Reagan, Papa Bush, Clinton, and George Bush Jr. You know as well as I do that no president ever, at least publicly in front of a bully pulpit, ever said Russia was anything but somebody we need to be concerned with, our enemy. No matter if it was Gorbachev, I can't think of the other guy's name after. Who was it went after Gorbachev? Yeltsin, Boris Yeltsin. Yeltsin. Okay, and especially Putin. But this, and I'm gonna curse on this one, this motherfucker with people sitting there, I think Dan Coates was the DNI, mouth hit the ground. I wish that they had the camera on him because his jaw, I'm sure it shattered in a million pieces. When I saw that as a military member, I said, I already couldn't stand him, but I said, and even though it's a funny line, but I was being serious, I said they should have gassed up Air Force One, left his ass sitting over there, let his fucking ass swim back to America, and then I don't know if they could 25th amendment him on that one, but Mike Pence, who I don't like either, should have become the fucking president, because that was treason. Nobody said that. No one has done that. And that was your bridge too far. What I want to ask you is, the Republicans that you know or knew, because I'm sure some of them probably cut you off with your views today, but the ones that you knew then, how did they feel? They had to and that's what drives me nuts. Privately, they had to be disgusted, some of them, right? Outraged?
Yeah, Brad, I went on the air that night when Trump did his thing in Helsinki. I went on the radio that night. I'm on 200 stations all over the country, and I said Donald Trump is a traitor. And I almost got kicked off the radio that night. But that's when I began to lose my radio show. But at that time, Brad, when I publicly said this man is a traitor, oh my God, man, I heard from some of my former Republican colleagues in private who said, fuck yeah, Joe, fuck yeah, Joe, fuck yeah, Joe. But I heard from them, Brad, in private. And that's the familiar dance that's played out the last 5 years.
Okay.
Only in private.
Right. Yeah. Which is cowardice, because it should be country before motherfucking party. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican or independent or whatever you are. For me, it's country over party. And when you sit back and you say nothing, you're as complicit as he is. And that was fucking treason.
Hey, Brad, I said that Helsinki was my final straw, but let me just give a 30-second explanation. I voted for Trump in 2016. I didn't love him. I didn't like him. He wasn't Hillary. That's why I did what I did. I figured Trump is a goof. Maybe he'll play a lot of golf. Maybe a couple good things might happen. He blocked me on Twitter in 2015 because I would criticize him. I started to go south on Trump, Brad, right after he won, because I fucked up. I fucked up in voting for him, but I fucked up because I didn't pay enough attention to him during that first campaign. I didn't realize what an evil guy he was. I'm not a New Yorker. I never watched The Apprentice. That's on me. I got to live with that. But after he won and I started to pay attention to him, and I find out that every fucking day he lies, every time he opens his mouth, he lies, and he doesn't give a damn about this country. I was going south on him every month of his presidency, and I was getting beat up for doing it. Helsinki was the final straw.
Okay. I don't want to get into too much of your personal life, but I do want to ask you this. Mrs. Walsh, your wife is Jewish, correct?
Oh man, yes, my lovely Jewish bride, my second marriage.
Right. And the reason why I bring that up is I would think that she was, but I would think you as well. When he said, and I quote, there are fine people on both sides in Charlottesville, and I've attacked them on this big time. As you know, they said black people were the N-word and Jews were the K-word, okay? And what's disgusting about that, Joe, and I remind my viewers of this because he's done so much that they forget, that his daughter converted to Judaism because Jared is an Orthodox Jew and the Kushners insisted upon it. I can never remember her Jewish name. Debbie knows it. I can never remember it. But his grandkids are Jewish. So to be a motherfucker that would say, fine people on the other side, there was nothing fine about them, from the Confederate statues that should have been gone to attacking, and I'm Jewish on my father's side. So I'm disgusted by that too.
So Brad, you may beat me up for this, but I'm going to say it. And nobody despises Donald Trump more than I do, because my life has been fucked because of him, because I publicly opposed him. And Trump is a traitor. He's a bigot. He's a racist. He's a dumbass. He's a liar. He's a psychopath. I could go on, and all of that. But oh, by the way, Brad, he's unfucking believably inarticulate.
Yeah.
He can't speak.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you though, when he said there are good people on both sides, and I've watched that tape 60 times, and I spoke to people who work for him who hate him. I think the media misplayed this. I think the media was wrong. He was talking about, and he fucked it up because he's inarticulate. What he meant to say was there are good people on both sides of the Confederate flag issue, of the monument issue. He wasn't talking about there are good people marching in Charlottesville who are saying the N-word and the K-word. I really believe this is one where I think Trump gets a bad fucking rap because he's so inarticulate. I don't think he was referring to those white supremacists. I don't, but I could be wrong.
And I'm not going to say you're wrong, but I'm going to say if you bet on a horse, you bet on past performances.
That's
and
a
with
good
this
response.
motherfucker with the Central Park Five, who was exonerated, and he still to this day says what he did.
Yeah.
When you attack Senator McCain, who is a fucking war hero, I didn't agree with most of what Senator McCain, his policies, but as a person, I respected him. As a man that couldn't lift up his arm to comb his own hair because he was in Hanoi Hilton for 5.5 years.
Yep.
And this motherfucker told Frank Luntz, I like my warriors not captured, when he took 5 times, okay? And the motherfucking idiots that follow him, and I do my research, they say, well, Obama didn't serve. I said, you dumb motherfuckers. Obama was born in 1961, I believe. The fucking draft, if I remember correctly, was ended in 73. He was 18 in 79. There was no fucking draft. I joined, and you as well. You have to, I volunteered. Selective service, you sign at the post office or wherever. Trump, there was a fucking draft and this bitch ran from it. Okay.
He ran from it.
He ran from it.
Brad, you're spot on, man. He ran from it. And look, I just explained why I thought what he meant when he said that.
Right.
But man, Brad, you got more evidence on your side because he has a history of, and he's just an asshole.
Right.
He's mean and cruel to everybody.
Right. And the thing is, Joe, and to be honest with you, the problem I have is he had Mitch McConnell's wife, Elaine Choi, behind him, who's an Asian woman. He had, I think it was Gary Cohen or whatever the Jewish guy's name that worked for him. Who resigned? I think he resigned shortly thereafter, if I remember correctly, because so many people, he had the most fucking in and out revolving door of people. But the thing is, even if you were right, a fucking semi-decent person would have come out, but because he's so fucking arrogant and he's never wrong, they asked him, if do you have anything you would ask God forgiveness for? And you're Catholic. And he says nothing. Are you fucking kidding me? You never sinned in your life, Donald Trump? We sin daily, even if we're not trying to fucking sin.
He's no, Brad, you're right. And again, he would have come out the next day and said, this is what I meant. But he's not capable of that because he's incapable of shame, period.
Exactly. I want to pick your brain, your political brain part of this, and I want to ask you some questions on these. Yeah. I hear you call out the insanity from the current crop of Republican officials, and I agree. But I also think something that's not addressed, Joe, is this. Let's be honest. You were an elected official. We say Marjorie Taylor Greene, fucking evil. Bobart, the personification. Matt Gaetz and Matt, I call him Madison Sittler, not because I attack his handicap, because I don't attack people with handicaps, but he acts like Hitler from that fucking chair, and you would think he would have more compassion towards people because he's in a fucking chair, but they have no compassion. So what I want to ask you is this. We always are attacking these elected officials, but we lose sight, not me, but people lose sight. These elected officials are just that. They're elected by people. So people have to identify with these traits, meaning if they vote for him again, like Trump, he gave you 4 years of fucking horrible shit he did to the country, and you voted for him again in 20. Not you, but I'm saying a person. Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't just go and say, I want to be a congressman. She got voted in, even if she ran unopposed. So I don't think people talk enough about the constituents of these people. What does it say about the people voting these evil fucking people in? It doesn't speak highly for them, Joe.
No, Brad, 2 points. And that's, by the way, that's a great point. Look, people ask me all the time, Joe, you're never Trump. Does that mean you're never DeSantis or never Pence? My red line is any Republican, like some people think I'll go back to the Republican Party when Trump's gone. My red line, Brad, is this. Any Republican who voted for Trump in 20, after 4 years of that son of a bitch in the White House, if you voted for him in 2020, I can never support you as a candidate for president. And Brad, I'd remind everybody, You know, my former colleague Adam Kinzinger voted
Oh, I
for
know.
Trump in 2020.
I know. And so did Liz Cheney. And so did
Brad,
Liz
Liz
Cheney.
Cheney voted for Trump in 2020. So perspective there. But to your point, look, let's be real, man. I come from the world of the Trump voter, of the Republican voter. And I've said publicly, man, they're getting the government they deserve. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Brad, is not fringe. She's supported by the base. That's where the base, my former base, is. This is not a fringe thing anymore. They're radicalized. I say a lot, they're radicalized. They no longer believe in the truth. They've given up on democracy, and they want a fucking strong man to run their lives. So Marjorie and the rest of them reflect the voters, the Republican voters.
And I agree. And you know this. They don't want the country to, they want to, like you said, they want the country to be white. But the problem is the country is no longer white. We're becoming the minority. And I just did a video on this yesterday. And what pisses me off is this. I think America's, and I'm not going to say I bash America for the things that I think are wrong, and I take up for America for the things that I think are right. This is just me. We were never great, and I don't think we will ever be great, but we have the potential to be so much better. And the reason why I say we will never be great, and I hate that slogan, make America great again, because it wasn't great for African Americans. It wasn't great for Native Americans. It wasn't great for women for many years. And in many cases, it's still not. But we have the potential to be better. But one party, and I don't beat the drum and say everything the Democrats do. I'm an independent.
But Brad, let me stop you there before you go to your point, because I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
And I hear what you're saying, but our founding and our fight for independence and our Declaration and Constitution, even though we weren't great at the beginning, we started something special, didn't we? I mean,
yes.
The idea special.
Yes, we did. And we've made strides. We have definitely made strides. Okay. We've made strides in civil rights, but the problem is Trump came along. Now, look, the only thing that you don't see with the African-American community who's catching it, they want to suppress, they don't want voter rights. They want to suppress African-American votes. We're not seeing the 60s where they're putting dogs and fire hoses on Black people yet. But go back to a Trump presidency, that shit'll happen. People like you and I, if he had his way, you and I wouldn't be around no fucking more, because there would be anybody that spoke out like Putin. He wants to be Putin. He's not as, you could say whatever you want. You know this better than me. Putin is an evil motherfucking murderer. But the one thing Putin is not is stupid. Trump is fucking stupid. And what irritates me, I'm talking about the Republican Party is where I was going, is Cruz and Hawley and all these motherfuckers, they're destroying America, and McConnell, but they're not stupid. Trump is stupid. These people are not stupid, Joe. They know what the fuck they're doing. They know what they're doing. Trump is an idiot and a useful idiot.
Yeah, no doubt. And thank God, by the way, Brad, right? Thank God Trump's a fucking dumbass. Because imagine if he wasn't, what more he might have been able to accomplish the last 4 years. But people ask me this all the time, Brad. All of my former colleagues in Congress, how many of them are true believers in Trump and how many know better? Most know better, but there is a growing group of true believers. And the Republicans are going to probably win back the House this year, Brad, and there are going to be more Marjorie Taylor Greenes.
Yeah.
But guys like Cruz and Hawley, well, now Hawley's kind of a true believer, but Cruz and some of the rest of them, they're just pandering to where they know what you said, where their voters are.
Yeah. But you know what? It's not country over party.
No,
they don't care about this country.
It's party over country.
Yeah. Wrong is wrong, period. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, if you're not doing right by the country, it's not right.
You're right, Brad. But look at me as an example. This is what Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio think about. Joe Walsh 4 years ago put country over party, and he got fucked. He can never be a Republican again. He lost his TV show, radio show, all of that. You're Rubio and Cruz and all these guys. they know Trump's bad for the country. They know Trump's bad for the party. But if they came out and said that, their political career, Brad, is over. And most politicians would never do that.
It's true. I agree. But you know what? You have no fucking soul then, Joe. You have no soul.
Agreed.
How do you look yourself in the mirror? How do you
They
look
sold.
your kids? You know?
Brad, they sold their soul. They sold.
So. But you know what? But I get mad too with spouses, whether it's a wife or a husband, because I say, if you know your husband is destroying the fucking country, or your wife like Marsha Blackburn in Tennessee, how can you sit at the dinner table and be like, everything is oh fucking K? I mean, it's just,
Hey, Brad, can I ask you one more question?
Yeah.
If Donald Trump called your wife ugly, would you ever sell your soul to that guy?
First of all,
Ted Cruz, look what Trump said about Cruz's wife.
But now, wait, I'm going to go one further. He said his wife was ugly, and he said his father helped kill Kennedy. Let's not forget that part.
Yeah.
I worship my father. My father passed away. I idolize my dad. First of all, if Trump said that, I'd knock his fucking teeth out. That would be first and foremost. Second, I might stay a Republican if that was my thing, but he would know I'm not with you. I'm not with you. And I'd probably have to resign, because I'd be caught in a situation where if I believed in a policy and I'm not voting because I hate Trump because it helps him, you'd be caught in a situation. So I probably would fucking resign and then go out against him. A couple of questions I want to ask you political as well. Term limits on politicians. Are you for them or against them?
I'm for. I used to be against a long time ago, but I think when I was in Congress, it was the first or second bill I introduced, term limits on members of the House and the Senate. I've seen the game up close, Brad. It's a rigged game. It's really hard to beat an incumbent. And the longer you're there, the less connected you are to your voters. So we need a way to force them out. Yeah, term limits. Okay.
Supreme Court, my opinion, I want to ask yours. I don't think it should be for life, and I'll tell you why. Whether it's a conservative or liberal judge, and this is my opinion on it. The world changes around individuals, and when you're on the Supreme Court and you're in your 60s and 70s, even into your 80s, human nature, for the most part, even though there's some people that can bend, you're set in your ways. You have your beliefs, your core values, and that's what they are. And most of the time, for me, from studying psychology, you're not going to change too much, but the world changes around you. And whether you're conservative or you're a liberal, you're stuck where you're at, almost in what we call a bubble. So in my opinion, I don't think the Supreme Court should be for life. What do you think?
I'm going to give you an honest answer. I just don't know. I go back and forth on this one. The one thing I do like is if it's a position for life, they're kind of like protected from the politicians, like the presidents who appointed them. Like there've been plenty of examples, Brad, where Republican presidents picked justices who weren't nearly as conservative as they thought. Because once you're on that court, you can say, fuck you, president or politician. I'm here for life. You can't touch me. So I go back and forth.
Okay. Question, your heart and your mind, two different things. Do you think one of three scenarios, Trump is going to prison, Trump is going to be heavily, heavily fined, or he's going to be rendered ineligible to run in 2024?
No to all three.
Yeah.
No. Fuck no. He's the Republican Party nominee. And right now he's got a better 50-50 chance of being elected president because the Democrats are in trouble.
Okay. And you don't think he's going to get convicted of anything either?
No.
Okay.
Hey, Brad, that kills me. The guy's been a criminal his whole life.
Right.
And he's never been held accountable.
Right.
But I don't think he will be.
Okay. I hear you saying a lot of things with the Democrats. It drives you nuts. Democrats, you need to do this. You need to do that. One bone of contention I have with the Democrats, and I don't pull any punches, is I think in a lot of cases, their fucking messaging sucks. Like defund the police. I know that was the far left of the party, like the Squad and some of them have said that, but I'm not for bad police. I'm be honest with you, I'm not a back the blue guy because I think they cover for bad cops, but I am for good cops. And I do think that a good cop is a hero. And I do think when a cop goes out on a call, he's not a psychologist. They deal with mental health issues. I think we need reform, but not defunding. And President Biden said, I'm not for defunding the police, but when they put it out there in the atmosphere, the Republicans ran with it, and I think it hurt us in these House seats that we lost in 20, some of them, because they throw this out, defund the police. No, that's not a good slogan. I've heard you say, I think I've heard you complain about messaging, but if you had one thing that you could say to the Democrats that, please fucking fix this in your party, because I think you're an independent, right? Aren't you an independent? Okay, and so am I. I'm an independent too. What would you say the number one thing for you that you would like to see them fix?
Here's what I'd say to Democrats. And unlike Democrats or people like on MSNBC, every day, I'm not just talking to Trump people. Every day I'm talking to regular middle-class Americans right in the middle. Here's what I'd say to Democrats. You better wake the fuck up, because to more and more Americans, Democrats, you sound like elite snobs talking down to average people.
I agree.
And that ain't gonna slide, man.
No, and I've said that on my show. I said, and I've had on Senator Campbell. She's a state senator from Tennessee, and Representative Gloria Johnson from Tennessee, because Tennessee is fucking catching it. So, and we talked about that, and they both said the same thing, that all of these charts and these facts and all of this shit, the average person doesn't want to hear that. They want to hear, how are you going to affect their wages? How are you going to do this? Talking to them in basically layman terms, not all of these, like you said, all of this fucking charts, and that's not going to do it, Joe.
No, and that's true, Brad, but that's not just it. Like, look, most Americans, regardless of color, want to be protected by the police. And yeah, the Democrats got tagged with that a couple of years ago, and they didn't fight back enough against it. Most Americans care about the border. Most Americans think, most Americans are big-hearted, and we open our arms to anybody around the world, but you got to fucking come here legally the right way. And Democrats don't want to talk like that. And look, most Americans right now are struggling to pay gas and all the rest. We don't want to fucking hear about clean energy right now, right? It's like Democrats live in this elite little world, and they don't understand what regular people are going through every day. And Brad, look, man, a lot of these regular people think the Republicans are fucking evil. But then they got this other party that like talks down to them, and it's all about a lot of the woke stuff. And I think woke stuff is good, but they don't know how to talk to regular people.
Okay. Why, to me, and last question before we segue into the second half, which is fun, random questions you're going to enjoy. So the Republicans, after January 6th, which I will never forget that. I have said this, and I mean it as a veteran, and I don't care how fucking popular this is. I mean it. Any motherfucking veteran that went to the Capitol on January 6th behind a big lie that election was stolen, because it wasn't, and attacked the Capitol and beat those police up, should lose their VA benefits. And if you're a retiree and you went there, you should be fucking brought back, court-martialed, lose your fucking pension, and sent to fucking prison. Because the fucking Stephen Biko and Nelson Mandela were political prisoners. Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying these fucking J6 people are political prisoners. You fucking attack the Capitol, and you dumbasses, and I'm saying dumbasses, even people, you shouldn't call them dumb. There are dumbasses. Trump said he was going to march down there with you. The motherfucker got in an SUV, took his fat, morbidly obese, misogynistic, narcissistic, racist ass back to the White House and watched you fucking defecate. I told Deb, I said, I promise you it's going to come out. She said, no, I don't think so. I said, yeah, I promise you people, you're going to find out that they took shit and rubbed it on the walls, because that's how fucking disgusting they were. And what happened? They did that shit. And now for these fuckers to say it was a tour. Mike Pence talking about he wouldn't get in the fucking Secret Service limousine, and he was scared to death. They rushed him out, but it was just a day in fucking January. Come on. That was above and beyond. And if that wasn't your fucking ramp to get off of Trump, I'm not saying you have to stop being a Republican, but if that wasn't your fucking off ramp off of this treasonous motherfucker who caused this shit with cohorts, he wasn't alone, but he was the leader of it, because he's the one that started that big lie shit. He never conceded. And you notice as well as I do, before we segue, Joe, there's norms in this country. There's fucking norms, and they're there for a reason. No, he did not have to go. I tell people, he didn't have to go to the inauguration. He didn't have to give his tax returns, but they're fucking norms, and they're norms for a reason. Peaceful, and I was involved with one of them when was it? He didn't transition, but when Clinton beat Dole, I was at the ceremonial guard, so we did the whole ceremony. But he didn't go to the inauguration. He got in a fucking plane like a petulant child and left. That was disgusting. You think Obama? Come on. You think President Obama wanted to fucking shake his hand and they wanted to welcome to the White House after all the shit he said, that he wasn't born here? All of this fucking shit that he said about him, that now we know there was death threats on Obama because of a lot of shit that Trump stirred up people. Norms, but it's disgusting. And the last thing that I wanted to ask you as far as politics is, what the fuck is going to wake up the, and I let me preface it with this. We need two parties in this country. I don't care what anybody says. We need two viable parties. In fact, I wish we had more. But what the fuck is going to wake up the Republican Party to say, you know what? Instead of being exclusive, we need to be inclusive. We can have our conservative values. We could be pro-life. I'm pro-choice, but they could be pro-life. That's fine. We could debate policies. When the fuck are they, what's going to take them to come back to some semblance of normalcy, which is completely gone?
I don't think they will, Brad. I can't walk that back because I believe it. I've said often now, I think the Republican Party is gone.
Yeah.
I think this party cannot be saved. So what does that mean? I think there will be a new major political party coming in the next 4 to 10 years. Because the Republican Party, Brad, even though they're going to win the House and maybe and probably win the Senate, and unless the Democrats get their act together, Trump may sneak out one more victory in 24. The Republican Party as a national political party is shrinking. What is it? It's a party of old white men and old white women. They're dying. And right now, the party isn't replacing themselves, their voters, with young people and people of color. But watch out, Democrats, because that could change. But I think the party's toast, Brad. I think it's gone. I mean, and all you got to do, final point to everything you just said. Donald Trump incited a violent attempt to overturn an American election. That's what he did.
Yes.
Here we are 15 months later. That fucker is the leader of the party.
Yeah.
After that, he remains the leader of the party, Brad, and his hold on the party is stronger now than it was before January 6th.
Yeah. You know what? I got to ask you one more thing before we do segue, because you put out some good tweets. And I saw you caught heat because you said Elon Musk is uninteresting.
Fuck. I don't get it, Brad. I got fucking beat up. I've never paid attention to Elon Musk. I find him fucking boring.
He is
and
boring.
All I did was tweet that. And oh my God, these Musk people, the fans, just rained hell on me. It's crazy.
That, and then I saw that you commented to Ann Coulter and you said, no, Trump is your leader, not DeSantis.
I would love to, I'd love to sit down with Ann Coulter and don't get mad at me, Brad. There's part of her I really like. Okay. But she's like all these Republicans. They're whistling past the graveyard. They know Trump's the leader of the party. They just hope and wish he'd go away, but they don't have the fucking balls to say that.
I agree. Okay, let's segue into the fun random questions. First one off the bat. What is your favorite genre of movies?
Oh, yeah, that's easy, man. Because every day I'm at war. So what I do to relax is I watch Turner Classic Movies, and I'll watch old Hollywood classic movies, anything.
Okay. Do you have a favorite actor or a couple that you really love to see?
It's a great question, Brad. I'm going to give you an obvious one. I love Jimmy Stewart in anything. There's an old-time classic female actress, Barbara Stanwyck.
I love her.
Who I adore. Yeah.
Okay. And you actually answered for actress. What's your favorite TV show of all time?
Fucking A. These are great questions that I haven't thought about. Brad, I'm a huge fucking Seinfeld guy. Love Seinfeld. Growing up, it holds up well. I love the Andy Griffith Show. There, you got me.
Well, you know what? It's funny you mentioned it because Debbie and I were watching it the other night, and they had my favorite comedian is Don Rickles, God rest his soul. And they had. Did you remember the episode when he was a paint? He had him go paint, and he screwed up everything. And Andy and Barney painted Andy's house.
Yes, yes. I forgot about that, Brad. Rickles was on Andy Griffith.
Yeah, and it was Rickles because they painted, and they made Rickles think that he did it because he couldn't paint.
By the way, Brad, you know the other thing I do to relax is I watch old Don Rickles videos, some of those old Dean Martin roasts.
Love them.
And I love watching old Johnny Carson Tonight shows because they didn't get political back then. They just had fun.
The greatest Don Rickles on Johnny Carson was when Frank Sinatra was on there. Remember that one?
Remember he kissed him?
He kissed him in the mouth and Frank pushed him off. Because remember he told the story? He said, Johnny, can I tell this great story? He said, yeah, sure. He said, Don, years ago, he wanted to make out with this woman and he came over.
The restaurant.
Yeah, in a restaurant. He says, hey, Frank, when you're done, can you come over? And she doesn't believe that I know you. And Sinatra comes over and he turns to Frank and says, don't you see I'm eating here, Frank?
What are you doing? What are you doing, Sinatra? Brad, I've watched that story like 7 times.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Do you have a favorite musical band that you could always listen to?
I grew up with Tom Petty. I love Tom Petty. I was more of a Rolling Stones guy than a Beatles guy. Probably that.
Okay. If they made a movie about you, Joe, who would you like to see play you?
I'm gonna be an idiot. I don't know, only because I don't know young actors these days.
Well, pick an old one. Just it doesn't matter, even if they're not with us anymore. Who would you love to see play you if they were still alive?
That's a really good question, man.
John Garfield. No.
Done. Well, John Garfield's. Oh my God, was he an intense actor?
Yeah, I interviewed his daughter.
Oh yeah.
I interviewed Julie Garfield recently on my show. It was a good show.
I'll do John Garfield.
Okay, love him. What is one of the most memorable childhood memories that pop in your head?
Growing up in a family of 9, one day I ran away from home because I was pissed off because I wasn't getting attention from my mom and dad. I was the middle child. So I ran and hid in the wood about a half mile from the house. Nobody noticed I was gone. Nobody came for me. About 8 or 9 at night, I sauntered on back home. My mom and dad didn't even know I was gone. I started to cry. My dad took me out to get a cheeseburger. I explained the story to him, and he and I had the best night in the world. I'll never forget that.
Okay. Do you have a favorite noise or sound you like to hear?
I love it when people yell the word fuck. Honestly, Brad, it fires me up. I love it. I love the roar of a crowd in any football stadium.
Okay. You a Bears fan?
No, grew up a Packers fan in Chicago.
Okay. Oh, I bet they love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now flip that. What is your least favorite noise or sound?
I still have a hard time with anybody on a chalkboard doing anything on a chalkboard. And I have a really hard time when I hear any dog whimpering. I'm a big dog person.
Okay. Tough question, but do you have, and if I got a feeling I know what you might say, and we're going to have a debate if you do, but what is your favorite food?
I'm going to say it. Fuck you, Brad. I'm going to say it. I could live and die on New York thin sliced pizza till the cows come home. Thin.
Right. But see, it's not fuck you, Brad, because I was waiting for you to say Chicago pizza. Oh. That fucking casserole. I don't like it.
It's a fucking casserole. Absolutely.
Right. No, New York style pizza.
No, you pizza. Still are a big New York style.
Yeah,
guy,
dude.
Right?
Take the fucking slice, you bend it, let the oil drop off, and eat it like this. I love it. Okay.
So do you where you are now? Do you have anything close to that?
Fuck no. Are you kidding me? Nothing. I mean, nothing. No. In fact, the food in this area, Debbie's from Louisiana. So the food in this area, as I say on my show, forget about it. It's horrible. for the most part. There's one decent restaurant we go to. Well, my buddy Paul owns a couple good places, but I don't know if you've ever been when the last time you've been back here. But we're in Winfield. We have a house in Winfield,
Yeah.
Indiana.
Yeah.
There's a house. There's a restaurant in Cedar Lake called the Lighthouse. It's a seafood place.
Cool.
It's actually good.
Cool.
But do you have a guilty pleasure?
Well, I suppose if I have a guilty pleasure, I love to pig out on almost any kind of potato chip. And even though I don't play golf, Brad, I love to golf because I'm out there all by myself. I wish I could do it more. It's a time suck because you feel like you're giving up the whole fucking day. But God, that's my pleasure.
Okay. What is the first job you ever had?
I was a caddy at a country club in our neighborhood. We never belonged to a club, so we didn't have enough money. But I loved the caddy.
I used to do that too when I would live with my Italian known in Pontiac, Michigan. I used to carry the bags.
Love.
And boy, when you hit that ninth hole and they bought you a hot dog and a Coke, if they bought you a hot dog and a Coke.
That was the best.
It was the best. Sometimes you're a cheapskate that didn't buy your shit. You're like, oh man, come on.
Yeah.
Okay. If you hit the lottery tomorrow for the 200, 300, 400 million dollars, what would be the first thing you do?
I do one of two things. I'd either take that money to run for president, or I would retire, go live in the middle of nowhere, and I'd give away every fucking dime.
Okay.
One of those two.
Okay. What is your favorite vacation destination?
Oh, give me a fucking beach anywhere. I mean, with nobody around and some sort of tiki bar where I can have my little umbrella drinks and I'm all by myself on a beach with the water out there.
Okay. Do you have a hobby?
You know, what's funny, Brad, about these, ever since I went to Congress for 11 years, and by the way, don't take this wrong, because you served, I didn't serve. For 11 years, I felt like I'm at war, fighting for the things I believe in, and now I'm fighting to save our democracy. I don't do fun shit anymore. My favorite hobby right now is to watch old movies, hang out with my dogs, and read a good book.
Okay. I'd be remiss because I'm a dog person too. So what's your breed? What dogs do you have?
I got 2 labs right now. We had a coonhound, a red bone coonhound that I just put down.
Oh,
I love hounds and I love any kind of lab.
My condolences. Yeah, I love dogs. They're great.
What do you got, Brad? What do you got?
I have Santino, our Havanese, which is a Cuban breed.
Ooh.
His name is Santino Corleone from The Godfather, of course. And then we have Bella, who's a Schnorky, half Schnauzer, half Yorkie.
Yeah.
And I'd take my last dime to make sure they had the best quality of life. I love them because you know what? And you know this, no matter what you're having going on in your life, you come home, your dogs love you. They're just 100%. They're loyal.
Yeah.
I wish humans were like dogs. If they were, it would be a great world.
Amen.
Okay. If you could meet one person from any time in history, dead or alive, any walk of life, who would you like to meet? And what would either be your first question or something you'd like to talk to that individual about? Excuse me.
Well, I got a bunch of those, but I'll give you one.
Okay.
I would have loved to have met Ernest Hemingway. I'm a big Hemingway guy. I would have loved to have met him a number of years before he killed himself. And I would have liked to have developed a friendship with him and tried to convince him not to blow his brains out. I loved Hemingway.
Okay. You ever been to the house in Key West?
It's fucking cool. Yeah.
It is. It is. Joe, with everything we've talked about today, if you had to sum yourself up in a couple thoughts as a human being, what would you say?
I've fucked up a lot. I've tried to do the best I could, but I've fucked up a lot. I've learned from those fuck ups, and I'm trying to spend the rest of my life making amends for those fuck ups. Like Brad, you and I, like I've when you look at all the people the last 10 years who did a good job dividing this country, I'd be in that team photo. So however many years I got left, I'm trying to do something about that divide. That's all.
Let me ask you this off of that talking point, and I appreciate that you're doing that, because some people can never get to that point. Did you have an epiphany? What was it that, and not even the Trump thing, what inside as a man, I mean, what said, something, I got to change course here?
Well, I'm going to give you, the answer is going to be Trump, and here's why. So before Trump, I'm the guy out there screaming. And most of what I was screaming about before Trump was, good stuff, issues I believed in, but I engaged in ugly personal political attacks. Well, then Trump gets elected, and every fucking thing he does is an ugly personal political attack. So Brad, really, it was like watching him for a few months. And I remember I went home one night after my radio show and I said to my wife, serious question. I said, have I ever sounded like Donald Trump? It fucking scared the shit out of me. Brad, he kind of woke me up. He scared me silly. And I thought, my God, if I've ever sounded even like 100th of him, I'm done with that.
Okay. And the final question, do you have a saying you live your life by? And if so, what is the saying?
It's what I say to myself every day, and I try to say, and it was in my presidential campaign, my hopeless presidential campaign against Trump 2 years ago, it was our campaign slogan. It was called "Be Brave." We lack bravery in our politics in this country. I've done a lot of stupid fucking things, and I've made a lot of mistakes, but nobody's ever going to tell me that I haven't been brave, because I've just done what I believed in and I lost everything. So I remind everybody every day, just be fucking brave, have courage, do the right thing. Okay.
For the viewers, give them all your social media platforms. Go ahead.
You're so good. Just two things. If you tweet, follow me on Twitter at Walsh Freedom. And I launched a podcast about 3 or 4 months ago where every week I'm sitting down with somebody else pretty well known who doesn't think like me, and we're trying to find common ground. It's called White Flag with Joe Walsh.
Okay. I want to give some closing thoughts, and then I'm going to give you the mic to close out. For the viewers, you just saw a conversation in civility that I wish that we could get back to. I can't, I pull no punches on Twitter. I curse, I speak my mind, and I'm not backing off of anything that I say, because I believe it. But I do believe that we have to, people that make changes, even if we disagree with things they did in the past, that make changes. Anthony Scaramucci is a very good friend of mine. Anthony worked for him for one Scaramucci. And I had Anthony on the show. And the very first show, the 360, like we did today, I asked him tough questions about things, and he didn't run from them, and neither did you. I respect that. He changed. He's still Republican, but he changed. He with Trump. So I commend you, because my show is all about moving humanity forward. And though we might have disagreed in the past, and you have to live with the things that you said, and you know that as a man, but you're willing to admit it, you're willing to take ownership of it and accountability, and try to live the remainder of your life opposite of some of the things that you did. But I respect that you believed in things that you did, policies, but you didn't like the rhetoric. Okay, I respect that. I respect you as a man that says that. So in my estimation, you're moving humanity forward, because now at a personal cost, by going against Trump, your party at the time, okay, you got blackballed, you got blacklisted, whatever, okay? But it was bigger than that. It was bigger than that, because it's about humanity. Because if we shit on humanity, we got nothing left. And that's the reality. So I thank you for coming on. Excuse me. I thank you for being honest. I thank you for speaking your truth and being civil and answering tough questions in a 360 conversation. What I want to do now is I want to give you back the mic, and you close out with anything you want to say.
Cool, Brad. And all I'm going to say is this. I want to thank you, because you're doing the same thing I'm trying to do. You're trying to promote civility. You're trying to bring people together. This country right now, we have not been this divided, I believe, since just before the Civil War. If we don't learn how to fucking talk to each other across divides, we're done. So thank you, Brad, for what you do with this podcast.
You're quite welcome. And you got access to me. Ever want to come on back again? You got something?
Always.
And I'd be willing to come on your show anytime too.
Done.
So,
Done.
all
Thank
right.
you, brother.
On that note, hey, enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Brad.
All right. Take care. Hey, folks. That's another episode of the Bad Brad Berkwitt Show on the Ringside Report web TV channel. Joe Walsh, 360 conversation. Didn't run from anything. You got to respect that. Ask them tough questions, because that's what we do on this show. We get to the truth. We show how people are moving humanity forward. And you see the changes that he's made. And he's doing it. He's moving humanity forward. We don't always have to agree on everything, and that's okay. But we also need to have civility in conversations with people that we can talk to. Now, you know, I say, and I mean it, most Trump supporters, and I'm not saying Joe's a Trump supporter. Most Trump supporters I can't talk to because they're gone, they're lost. But people that I can talk to, I'm going to talk to, and I'm going to have them on my show. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you retweet this show, leave comments. I'm always going to respond to you. And remember, folks, every act of kindness is a little love we leave behind. Bad Brad out. Thank you for watching the Bad Brad Berkwitt Show. Please follow, subscribe, leave comments, forget about it, and move humanity forward.